Hi guys, Bacchus Bruce got the backstory on the 2018 Le Fil de Gras Moutons. This is a Muscadet I got at Arlequin Wine Merchant in San Francisco. Got this for just $14.99, really good value. This is coming out of the Sèvres et Maine part of the Loire Valley, one of the three kind of notable places for the Muscadet varietal to be found. Now, Muscadet is actually technically called Melon de Bourgogne, which is a grape varietal that you don't really see outside of Loire. There's a little tiny bit in Oregon, a little bit of Washington. From what I'm kind of figuring out, the wine is really kind of a unique in that it's not the easiest grape to grow, really. The way that the fruit comes in is kind of uneven ripening, which is kind of a nightmare for a winemaker, because ideally you have consistent grapes that all have the same bricks, but this one doesn't do that. So you kind of have to just harvest it all together and kind of hope that the low acid and the high acid grape clusters kind of balance each other out. Now, as you can see on the bottle, or maybe you can't, Sur-Lie is definitely kind of etched into it. Now, Sur-Lie, in case you don't know what that is the yeast cells. After the wine is fermented, the yeast cells are allowed to stay in contact with the wine. Now, this is something that's kind of seen commonly in California Chardonnays, Pinot Gris, Pinot Blancs. You leave the contact for maybe a couple of months or whatever, 6 weeks. You get a little bit of extra complexity. The yeast kind of imparts a kind of a richness and a roundness to the wine. But over here in the Loire, it's kind of its own creature. So throughout time, what's been found is that the better vineyards and the better plots that produce the better grapes take more extended lees aging better than some of the other ones. And so this particular bottle is about 6 to 7 months of lees aging. But this company, the Domaine La Haute Favrie, does have a couple of crus, and some of those crus see upwards of 3 to 4 years of lees contact, which is kind of unusual for a white wine. You usually see that kind of thing in champagnes, for example, but not necessarily a white wine. So the company that imports this, Vintage 59, out of Washington, D.C., they are kind of jumping on the whole minimal winemaker intervention theme, which a lot of hot young wines per se really kind of carry as a calling card. So this particular wine doesn't see any fining, doesn't see much filtration, just a light filtration before bottling, and of course a little bit of CO2 is added at the end. So Muscadets are historically known as being shellfish or seafood wine. It's got great fullness, it's got great richness, but it also has great acidity, which makes it a perfect foil for seafood. So there in the Loire, river eel, for example, is commonly eaten. I do have a food and wine pairing I'm going to do with this for the Instagram page, so make sure you take a look at that. So a lot of really fun things going on here. One last point, I guess, the new proprietor, Sebastian the Kid, he's converted the vineyard to organic. So this is the third year, 2018, starting next year, 2019 vintage, actually this year, excuse me, they're going to be able to call their wine organic, which is just a fantastic development. It's always nice when winemakers appreciate the land that their grapes are grown on. So a lot of fun. We'll see you in the tasting room.